Nicole here from Bake Toujours, and welcome to Troubleshooting Tuesday. Today's topic is on high humidity and macarons. Is it possible to make macarons when it's raining outside or super humid? Let's get into this topic right now. So first, a little story. This was an awesome question from a follower, and she sent me a message saying, I learned how to make macarons from a pastry instructor, and they told us to not even bother making macarons when it was raining. And I just want to completely debunk this myth that you can't successfully make macarons when it's raining or when it's highly humid outside. That is not going to mean you're going to fail with your macarons. It will be something that you have to watch out for, but you can take these precautions that I'm about to go over to make sure that you are set up for success on those humid, rainy days. First, what we need to do is to control our inside environment. So we want to make sure the outside stays outside and the inside is protected from that humidity. So a few hours before baking, you're gonna wanna close your windows and your doors. Don't leave anything open. Turn on fans or central air if you have it. If it's a super cold day, then you can turn on your heater. That dries out the environment as well. We're just trying to dry out the environment and lower that humidity point. Anywhere lower than 55% humidity inside is golden when making macarons. So on the same topic of controlling our internal environment, our inside environment, I also would suggest not running your dishwasher or your laundry or doing any hand washing of your dishes while making macarons, because that also is going to put out humidity into your environment. It might not matter as much in like a big home and you're running your laundry on the other side of the house. That could be fine. But if you're struggling with your macarons in humidity, I'd say take every precaution and don't run any of your water sources and see if that helps you in your quest for perfect macarons. Once you have your windows closed, your doors closed, and you're running some type of central air, then you're on track to making successful macarons. Some other things that you can use if you have them, if you have a dehumidifier, they are amazing. I loved it when I lived in the Pacific Northwest just to monitor my humidity. The dehumidifier I would run a few hours before I started making macarons and while I made macarons. And it was amazing how much moisture it soaked into the bin. It soaks out so much moisture from your environment. It was really helpful. So if you're doing this as a business and you need to have your environment dry, then perhaps investing in a dehumidifier would be helpful. But if this is just a hobby, you don't have to spend $200 on a dehumidifier to make these work. So I don't want to put that into your head, but these are extra precautions if you have them. These are great things to utilize. So dehumidifiers, some people have like smart thermostats in their house. I would always say check your humidity. Some thermostats will say what humidity you have in your house. So always check and note what's going on in your house, just so you know for reference, oh, I did struggle a little bit here. And then while you're making your macarons with my next points, you can make sure you do these other certain things to ensure that you have success with your macaron shells. So now let's get into why humidity is even an issue when we're making macarons. So the biggest thing that can happen is during the resting process. In most recipes, when making macarons, it suggests resting until you develop a skin on your macaron shells. So when you put them in the oven, they rise nice and even and the feet develop and they're not cracking. So if we're resting our macaron shells in a humid environment, they're likely to not dry quickly or ever. They soak up that moisture from the outside and they can just be too moist. And even if you bake them off, at some point, it could have absorbed too much moisture where they're never gonna come off your mat. They might have fragile tops or cracked tops, and they're gonna be sticky. So how can we avoid these issues if we have a humid day going on or it's actively raining outside? There's a few things here during the process of macarons that can help. So you can either use a no rest method, and you can check out my tutorial up above. There's a link. And this was a game changer for me when I was living in a humid environment. is not resting my macaron shells. I was able to put them straight into the oven, and then there was no time for the environment to have any effect on my resting shells because they went straight in. If you've tried no rest methods and they still don't work for you, then other ways that you can reduce drying time would be to get out a hair dryer, lightly blow dry your shells till they're dry. And this is going to quicken your process and also not allow too much moisture to be soaked and absorbed into your resting shells. So hair dryer could be one way to make your resting shells dry quickly, or you could try oven drying. I've seen a range of different oven setting temps for oven drying, from like 120 Fahrenheit to 270 Fahrenheit. So I don't know about your oven, but my oven doesn't go down to 120 Fahrenheit. So what I have done is just go to my lowest setting on my oven. Here it's 170 Fahrenheit, and that will take about 3 to 5 minutes to dry out my shells. Take the whole tray out, preheat your oven to your normal temperature. Mine's 300 Fahrenheit. And then once it's preheated, I'll put my tray back in. And then voila, you have a 5 to 7 minute dry time instead of maybe hours in your humid environment. So these are a few ways that we can reduce our dry time if we can't do no rest method to ensure that we're making beautiful macarons and that the humidity and rain outside isn't going to destroy our macs. So next time you have an inkling to make your macarons and it's humid outside, don't be scared. Just make sure you're taking the right precautions to ensure that you have a successful batch. Do all your environmental control factors that we can, and then make sure that you're lowering your dry time or decreasing it completely by using a no rest method. I hope these tips I've shared with you guys will help you feel confident the next time you have rainy or humid environment and you want to make macarons. Don't let it stop you. You got this. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next week on Troubleshooting Tuesday.